Family Guy and Five Nights at Freddy's go together like drugs and alcohol. It's most definitely a terrible idea and can't be good for your well-being, but goddammit if you don't want to give it at least one go. Disclaimer, that was a joke, don't do that. The drugs part, not the Family Guy FNAF part. Anyway, Five Nights at Freddy's and Family Guy, two fundamentally completely different pieces of media, yet two that I am so familiar with. I would say for the entirety of my life, until maybe 2 years ago, FNAF and Family Guy made up a solid 60% of my personality. I've said this a million times, but I discovered FNAF as soon as it came out and immediately fell in love with it, and followed every single release afterwards. And a few years later, I discovered my love for Family Guy. The first 7 or maybe 9 seasons of Family Guy are genuinely some of my favorite TV to just throw on and relax to and have a good time with. I don't think I'd be able to stomach much of the current material of the show, but I will never succumb to the idea that this show was never great. It was hilarious, the characters actually had a level of depth at the time, the music was wonderfully composed, and man, the chemistry between the titular cast was amazing. So unironically, these have been two of my biggest interests for many, many years, and I feel very strongly about both of these franchises. But how can I combine these two interests is a question I have never once asked. There is that one Pinky Pills drawing where the Family Guy cast goes to Freddy's. Yes, a formerly official Five Nights at Freddy's artist did in fact make this, and I sincerely feel it is their best ever work. People also like to turn her version of William Afton into Peter Griffin, which was a small but very entertaining trend. But that's just not enough for me. My thirst for Freddily Guy is not quenched, and I am sure you all feel the same. Well, don't worry, you based individuals. I found a Family Guy FNAF Fangame. Allow me to introduce you to Five Nights at the Horse. Five Nights at the Horse is a FNAF fangame based on Season 7, Episode 8 of Family Guy, titled Family Gay. The main plot of this episode is Peter becoming gay, but that is completely unimportant to this game. I just felt I couldn't say the name of the episode and leave it at that. But before Peter becomes gay, in this episode, Peter buys a disabled horse. And this horse causes shenanigans for the whole family, and for some goddamn reason, created one of the most iconic moments in the entire 25-year run of the show.
Peter, the horse is here.
Oh yeah.
I do think this entire bit with the horse is hilarious, and it's way better than the rest of the episode actually, but I don't understand how this one line from Lois became this famous. Everybody in the world knows and loves the line, Peter, the horse is here. And developer, Crafty HQ, aka Crafty Boy, thought this was such a peak piece of media that we needed a whole game about it. And you know what? I wholeheartedly agree with him on that. Funny piece of trivia about this dev that none of you will know. Back in the ancient times of 2022, I made a 2-part series on a FNAF community-held game jam. Basically, a bunch of people had like a couple months to make non-horror FNAF fangames. That was the theme. They had to be non-horror. And I made a couple videos talking about my favorite jam entries, which flopped tremendously, so none of you have seen them. One of these games was P-Paw Afton's Escape. It was based on that joke that Burn Trap was like Old Man Afton, and Vanny was like a caretaker, basically. This game was very funny, and pretty impressive actually for being a game made in Scratch. And the same dev of this goofy game that I talked about also made Five Nights at the Horse. Just goes to show the type of goated material we cover on the Baddest YouTube channel. So Five Nights at the Horse, am I right? In this game, you play as Lois Griffin. You're in the kitchen with a camera system that watches every room in the house. The horse walks around the place looking for you and the rest of your family members. The goal of the game is to make sure the horse doesn't murder you or any of your family. The camera system has a rappel feature in each of the rooms that your family members are in. You need to use it if the horse makes it to one of those rooms, or else the horse will kill that person. And although the cameras are integral to knowing exactly where the horse is, the most important detail is that you can hear the horse walk when it's going from one room to another. And if the horse succeeds in killing a family member, the horse becomes more powerful. For every family member that dies, the horse moves and acts faster. So although the first gruesome murder of one of your family members might make it feel like there's no punishment, keeping the family members alive is very much crucial. If just a couple of them die on a later night, you will be tracking down the horse every second, and I'm about to explain to you why that's a problem. If all of the family dies, leaving just you, then it's still a guaranteed game over unless you're already seconds away from finishing the night. The ones you let die will also haunt you for your mistakes. But you aren't just protecting the family. The horse can go into the kitchen through one of these two doors, and you need to shut it on him until he goes away, and you can't do anything else while you're holding the door shut. So that's the main gameplay as far as taking care of the horse. Monitor the cameras to make sure the horse doesn't kill your family, and if he reaches you specifically, close the door on him. But that alone would be too easy. What I haven't mentioned to you all is that a key mechanic in this game is that you, the player, are responsible for manually forwarding the time. When facing forward, you have access to the cameras and the two doors to the room, but the night does not actually progress naturally. You need to face away to the right to access a clock, where you manually forward the time. You have to do this whenever you have the time to do so, or else you're never going to progress through the game. And in the later nights, there is a new mechanic introduced with the clock. Sometimes the clock will start rewinding, undoing your progress, and you need to forward the time while this is happening, so it at least stays in its current state. So the formula of this game amounts to tracking exactly where the horse is and switching over to the clock as long as you know you and everyone else is safe in order to forward the time. But there will be times where you have no choice but to go forward the time on the clock so you don't lose progress, which can be pretty stressful. However, realistically, this game is pretty easy. The first time I played this, I was in a Discord VC, so it was much more challenging, but as long as you can listen for the audio cues, all that matters is that you can locate the horse before it can kill someone. If you accidentally let a family member or two die, then again the horse gets more powerful, and that does make the game much harder, so it's best to keep them safe as well. Most of the game is spent on the clock, just waiting to hear a sound. Once you hear a sound, you just need to spastically search the potential rooms the horse could be in to make sure you're safe. That, or he'll wind up in the kitchen, but you know how to handle that too. As far as FNAF Fangames go, this is realistically very average. It has one character with very simple movement patterns that can be tracked via crisp and clear audio cues, and the few mechanics are pretty basic. But if I am being honest, I do still find the flow of this game fun once it reaches harder difficulties. It's kind of like how FNAF 2's gameplay is extremely repetitive, but I still find it fun from time to time because of the reliance on reaction time and speedy movements. When you're late into the game, Five Nights at the Horse requires a decent bit of focus. There are 6 total rooms the horse can reach that will affect your chances of winning, and many other rooms he could be in that are close to those areas. Tracking and repelling this character wouldn't be challenging in a regular FNAF game where the time just moves, but when you cannot progress without deterring your focus from the threat, it can occasionally get stressful. But you're not here to listen to me say that the game was actually fun to play. This game and its existence is so unbelievably funny. So you know how this entire game is essentially based on a single spoken line? Well, Lois actually repeats this line every time the horse spawns in at the start of every night.
Peter, the horse is here.
There's also audio for when each of the family gets killed, and it's both funny and marginally horrifying.
Oh my god! Ryan! Oh my god, Peter, are you okay?
And though this is something nobody but me could ever care about, I really love the way they incorporated every single room in the Griffin household we've ever seen, even when it doesn't make any sense. Take this room, for example. We'll call it the den, because I don't really know what else you'd call it. The den has not been seen in several years. It served very little purpose in the first place, and seemingly just vanished in the late 2000s. You can tell that this is the case because this very image in the game is clearly dated. It has the style of the much earlier episodes of the show, with slightly thicker lines, a more janky look in general, and it's just overall lower quality. Whereas the living room is very clearly from the current look of the show, appearing significantly higher quality. Although it kinda looks like shit, I actually find it charming that we can see different eras of the show, as well as forgotten elements of the show in this game. So that's most of what there is to know about Five Nights at the Horse. But I have not told you guys the ending of the game. Just like any other FNAF game that specifically says Five Nights in the title, this game is not Five Nights. There is an additional 6th night that mostly plays the same as the others but more difficult, but there is an obvious key change. Instead of having a clock that you use to forward the time, you have a bomb that you manually decrease the timer on. This night even features a unique opening voice line.
Must kill that horse?
This final night is much more challenging than the ones prior, but once you manage to fully decrease the bomb's timer, the game tells you to wait for the horse to get as close as possible. You actually need to wait for the horse to jump scare you, but you set off the bomb before it's too late. You blow up the place, credits roll, but oh no. The horse is still here. As opposed to having a custom night, this game has an endless night, which I have not personally tried yet, but maybe we can do that for a stream. I do hope endless mode consistently increases in difficulty as you play, because if it does, that solves my biggest problem with the game. Again, as long as you focus on the audio cues, the game is pretty easy. So if the horse constantly gets faster, that makes the game much more fun to play. In fact, pre-endless mode, because I don't know how endless mode works yet, the best way to play this game, in my opinion, is to play Night 5 and let one character die. That's how to make the game most fun to play. Actually, speaking of replaying this game, there is something worth mentioning that is much more likely to become a stream on this channel. Since one of the main distinct mechanics in this game is the need to manually forward the time, this game is speedrunnable. Most classic FNAF games have speedruns, but they objectively suck and rely on very annoying and precise inputs. But Five Nights at the Horse can 100% have varying results when speedrunning because of both luck and skill, which is honestly pretty cool. So, that's Five Nights at the Horse. I can finally say that there is a complete package representing two of my most humiliating interests built in Scratch. And you know what? What else could I ask for in life?